Hello guys, how are you all? I hope are you well. Today I compare the military comparison Singapore versus Malaysia. So let's begin. Global rank in the world, Singapore is 42 and Malaysia 48. Capital of Singapore, Singapore City. Capital of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. Prime Minister of Singapore is Lee Hsien Loong and Malaysia Ismail Sabri Yaakob. Population of Singapore is 5.82 million and Malaysia 33.80 million. Nominal GDP of Singapore is 425 billion and Malaysia 380 billion. GDP per capita of Singapore 61,000 and Malaysia 12,900. Nuclear weapons has Singapore 0 and Malaysia 0. Total area of Singapore 729 and Malaysia 3,30,803. Defense budget of Singapore 11.40 billion and Malaysia 3.79 billion. Armed force Singapore Army and Malaysia Army. Total military has Singapore 2,70,000 and Malaysia 2,67,000. The active military has Singapore 60,000 and Malaysia 1,15,000. Reserve military has Singapore 2 lakh and Malaysia 52,000. Combat tanks has Singapore 170 plus and Malaysia 48. Armored fighting vehicle has Singapore 3,517 and Malaysia 1,708. Infantry fighting vehicle has Singapore 800 and Malaysia 458. Armored personnel carrier has Singapore 1,837 and Malaysia 434. Armored car has Singapore 435 and Malaysia 623. MRAP has Singapore 120 and Malaysia 210. Self-propelled artillery has Singapore 48 and Malaysia 0. Field artillery has Singapore 77 and Malaysia 196. Rocket projectors has Singapore 24 and Malaysia 54. Air Force of Singapore, Republic of Singapore Air Force and Malaysia Royal Malaysian Air Force. Total aircraft has Singapore 244 and Malaysia 156. Combat aircraft has Singapore 100 and Malaysia 38. Multi-role aircraft has Singapore 60 and Malaysia 26. Attack aircraft has Singapore 0 and Malaysia 12. Special mission aircraft has Singapore 9 and Malaysia 4. Trainer aircraft has Singapore 36 and Malaysia 39. Tankers has Singapore 11 and Malaysia 4. Radar system has Singapore 4 and Malaysia 4. Electronic warfare has Singapore 0 and Malaysia 0. Transport aircraft has Singapore 9 and Malaysia 18. Helicopter has Singapore 79 plus and Malaysia 41. Attack helicopters has Singapore 18 and Malaysia 0. UAV drone. Total drone has Singapore 8 and Malaysia 6. Air Force has Singapore 9 and Malaysia 114. Navy. Navy of Singapore, Republic of Singapore Navy and Malaysia, Royal Malaysian Navy. Naval Field Strength has Singapore 40 and Malaysia 82. Aircraft carrier has Singapore 0 and Malaysia 0. Helicopter carrier has Singapore 0 and Malaysia 0. Frigates has Singapore 6 and Malaysia 3. Corvettes has Singapore 6 and Malaysia 6. Destroyer has Singapore 0 and Malaysia 0. Submarine has Singapore 5 plus and Malaysia 2. Petrol vessels has Singapore 15 and Malaysia 29. Mine warfare craft has Singapore 4 and Malaysia 4. Merchant Marine has Singapore 3,321 and Malaysia 1,769. Ports and Terminal has Singapore 1 and Malaysia 9.